People who own hamsters, what's the weirdest way they died?
1. Mine died of a heart attack, or old age, which isn't the interesting part. I walk in to see my big burly husband who always pretended to just tolerate him performing CPR. He was so upset that he couldn't save him.
2. He would hide his food in his cheeks so my mom would refill his bowl thinking I hadn't fed him. Eventually he got so fat he got stuck in a tube and died of a heart attack. I still remember my mom shaking the tube like a ketchup bottle trying to get his little corpse out.
3. My brother had 2 and we were sharing a room at the time. He had taken one out of the cage to put into the ball so that it can roll around on the floor but didn't seal the lid all the way and then got distracted by something and left the room. I came up and started to play music on my boombox and somehow the little fucker got up on the dresser and was right near the speaker. We forgot about Dre being on blast. It gave him a heart attack.
4. She literally ate all of her children and died choking on the last one.
5. I had one when I was young called Doodles. He loved moving his bedding to the top floor of his cage. I remember walking downstairs and seeing him dead. Little fella hung himself with his bedding.
6. They didn't die, they went to live on a farm with all their friends, though, I'm told, they miss me terribly.
7. My mom put my hamster in her freedom ball while I was at my dad's house and forgot about her. She rolled into the garage on a hot summer day and couldn't get back inside because there was a step she had to roll down to get out. Mom closed said garage door, trapping hamster in basically an oven and found her dead later. Then, she put said hamster's body in the freezer in case I wanted to bury her, but forgot about her again. Imagine my surprise as a 9-year-old latchkey kid opening the freezer to get some ice and finding a hamster cycle.
8. Saw one bite a power cable once and fly several feet. Sad day for the little guy.
9. When I was 8, I fed my hamster a grape and it clogged him up, causing his intestines to explode out his ass. This was highly traumatic for young me. I sat there in the vet's exam room. My mom's hand on my shoulder, knowing this was the first time I would have to endure the death of something I loved dearly, and him explaining there really was no hope for Sir Lord Edwington Fuzzball Von Cheeks. I stoically asked him if he was going to get a shot to put him to sleep. The vet said, "I'm sorry, yes." I then started to crack a bit and asked if I could have one too. At this my mom broke down sobbing, but the vet just semi-smiled and said absolutely not. And that was the day I knew I'd grow up to be a emo kid.
10. Got its leg stuck in the cage while I was at school. It apparently chewed its own leg off to escape, then bled out.
11. I'm still traumatized 52 years later. Our classroom had a class pet, the hamster. If you finished your classwork, first you were allowed to take it from the cage and play with it. I had a cardboard insert from a roll of paper towel, and a desk with a lid that lifted up so you could store your books inside. I really don't know how it happened, but the lid slammed down on the hamster. I murdered the class pet in front of about 35-year-olds.
12. My hamster chewed the wiring under the stove and got electrocuted, destroying both him and the stove.
13. I used to let my little Siberia dwarf hams run free in the bathroom. One day I had to leave the bathroom for a moment, and when I closed the door I heard and felt a swift crunch. My poor little ham's head was in the crack of the door with blood coming out of his mouth. I screamed and cried. Kids should not be left alone with animals.
14. Fuck, I'm sad I'm so late to say this. My ex-wife watched her next-door neighbor's hamsters when they were young, when she spent a week in vacation with her family. The mommy hamster and the daddy hamster had babies one day. Adorable little pink balls of squinty cute pudge. She went to check on them the next day. Total bloodbath. Straight true crime podcast murder scene. The mommy hamster had drowned as many babies as she could fit underwater in the water dish. Their bloated corpses piled in the shallow bowl like a kiddie pool full of dead toddlers. She had half eaten the rest, face first, leaving their tiny pink butts and hind legs in a neat pile on the other side of the cage. Daddy hamster was not dispatched quite as neatly. She had ripped out Daddy's guts from the throat to the belly and then dragged them around the cage like fucked up tinsel from a Cenobite's Christmas tree. Then she climbed up and hung herself between 2 bars on the top of the cage, head wedged in between, poking out the top, little legs dangling like she was the floating Hellraiser Christmas tree above a total massacre of insanity and depravity. Postpartum depression, folks. Never procreate.
15. I was 4 or 5, caught one hibernating. Didn't know. Thought the fellow was dead. Gave him a proper burial in a shoebox with flowers and a spot marking his little grave and all. Mom was horrified when she got home many hours later.
16. Some I knew from school was not super bright and had a hamster that was cold. So she, a 7-year-old, decided that because microwaves heat things up she should put it in there. She put it on the 30-second cycle and the hamster exploded in the microwave. They just threw the whole thing away.
17. Had my hamster in my hand and it jumped away. I tried to grab it but instead I slapped it into the ground. It died writhing in pain.
18. Never had a hamster but my friend did. My friend had bought some baking soda and vinegar and some other various items to bake with. The hamster managed to get into the baking soda and knock over the vinegar. They came home and found its organs scattered everywhere.
19. My friend owned a hamster when we were kids. It escaped and got lost, and after a few weeks everyone gave up looking for it. Cue my visit to his house, and we discovered the poor thing in the DVD slot of his TV, because we went to pop out the disc tray and it ejected half a dried hamster. It had crawled into a cozy hiding place and the little flap trapped it inside.
20. I squished it trying to give it a kiss at 4 years old.